welcome to Crime Bytes, the show where we talk about some truly bizarre and disturbing crime cases. My name is Eliza, and today is True Crime Tuesday. So today we're talking pride, and I've got another crazy one for you. But before we get into it, let's pause for a quick promotion. And today we are promoting snow. And my question for you is, are you proud of your smile? If not, and it's a color issue, you might want to give Snow a try. They are who I credit from bringing my smile from this to smiling however I want, whenever I want. They've got these diamond starter kits for around $80, and I've got a 15% off coupon for you that you can activate by clicking the link in my description. So if you're looking for something that's affordable for your teeth that actually works, you might want to give Snow a try. And let's get into today's case. Today's case may blow your mind, but it is still unfolding, so a lot of what we are going to talk about is alleged. An arrest has been made though, so let's start by meeting Doniel and Kristen Patrick. Doniel and Kristen were raising their family in Carrollton, Georgia, which is about an hour west of Atlanta. They would have 2 children together, a son who we aren't really going to talk about too much, and a daughter named Sarah Grace Patrick, who was born in 2008. The Patricks would stay together until 2019, at which point they would divorce after being married for 10 years. When this happened, Doniel would petition for joint legal custody and primary physical custody, asking the court that visits be supervised due to drug use in Kristen's home. What drugs were not specified. They were known to use weed. Don't get me started on family court, but ultimately, Kristen would receive physical custody and Doniel would have the children on alternate weekends and holidays. So that was the initial agreement, and then Kristen ran into a little trouble and Sarah would go live with her father, and then as her mother started to come out of said trouble, she would go back to live with her and had been back there since 2023. Kristen would meet and marry a man named James Brock, and he would have children as well. They would go on to have a daughter together, ultimately becoming a blended family of 7. They would move into a rural 2,000 square foot house in Carroll County, Georgia. One significant thing to know about James was that he had a serious heart condition that he wore an LVAD device for. LVAD stands for left ventricle assistance device, and it does literally that. It's a medicinal implant that assists the patient's left ventricle with pumping blood through the heart, usually when it is too weak to do so on its own. It is given to patients experiencing heart failure, and without a heart transplant, which James was said to be waiting for, the odds aren't that good. Like 50% of patients don't make it past a year, and that number drops to 25% of patients not making it longer than 3 years. So his prognosis was not looking good without a transplant. By most accounts, though, they were an ordinary family, and I hate that expression, but there wasn't anything major that stands out or that would indicate what would end up happening in February of 2025. They were active in church and described as just very warm and kind people. And on February 20th, Sarah would call 911 to let them know that her little sister had just found their parents shot to death in their bedroom when she was trying to wake them up for the day. Responders would find James and Kristen lying in their bed with multiple gunshot wounds. He was 45 and she was 41. So we had 2 dead parents, and the only possible witnesses were Sarah and her little sister. Sarah would say that she did not hear any gunshots, but she did hear a beeping noise from James's LVAD device, which indicated that it had malfunctioned or had stopped working, like if he had been shot perhaps. She didn't do anything when she heard the noise, but I mean, her mom was there too, and neither of them came out of their room, so I'm assuming she must have assumed that that was taken care of and went to bed. And the next morning she was awoken by her little sister saying that mommy and daddy aren't waking up. The little sister, I've heard mixed reports on if she heard the gunshot or not, but the TV was on very loud according to Sarah. As for the house, there was no sign of forced entry and nothing was stolen, so that ruled out a robbery gone wrong. It seemed like an inside job, except for the only people inside were two devastated girls, and one of those girls was 5. There was a side or back door that was unlatched and left partially adored, which could indicate that someone had come in specifically to murder the Brocks and then slipped right back out. They also have not released yet if the gun has been recovered. So who would have wanted the Brocks dead? No one seemed to know, except for one small lead that was looked at quickly and then dismissed. The Brocks reportedly did dealings with things like weed, nothing major, but still considered illegal if you're trading outside the dispensaries. But this is significant because they had reportedly ripped off a guy a few months before they were killed. This information came from Sarah's birth father, Doniel, so do with that what you will, but these people were looked into as part of the investigation and they were cleared. He would also state that their son, Doniel and Kristen's son, had witnessed a friend of Kristen's pulling a gun on them. So there's that as well. James Brock was also reportedly involved in a biker group at one point, so they were good people by all reports, but had some slightly rougher edges as well, from what I can hear. As the investigation went on, the funeral would come on March 8th, and Sarah would give the following eulogy.
For those of you who do not know me, my name is Sarah, and I am Kristen Brock's daughter and James Brock's stepdaughter. This isn't easy, like, oh, my family had to do this all the time, but I'm really happy I get to do this, but just bear with me because I stutter a lot. I just wanted to say goodbye to my mom and Jamie since we never got the chance to. I was so used to you guys always being here to the point that I never once thought to imagine y'all not being here. I didn't have a single clue how much I needed y'all until now. For James, thank you for all the life lessons you taught me and for being the best bonus dad ever. Your heart will finally be healed in heaven and neither of y'all will be in any pain anymore. Although that gives me so much comfort, your fight was not supposed to end there. And for my mother, everything we went through does not define what kind of person or what kind of mother you were. You were a beautiful, kind soul with so much gratitude and so gosh dang strong. And you taught me so many life lessons, and some that you just recently taught me through a letter you sent to James in 2018. When I first read it, I smiled and I cried, and I got chill bumps. But every single time I read it, it puts me to a lot of peace. So I thought I would share it. May 23rd, 2018. Deuteronomy 6:5. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. The wrong one will find you in peace and leave you in pieces, but the right one will find you in pieces and lead you to peace. We can't always choose the music the life plays for us, but you can choose how we dance to it. She was always dancing to her own beat, LOL. And keep in mind, she wrote that herself. Eventually, all the pieces fall into place, but until then, laugh at the confusion, live for the moment, and know that everything happens for a reason. I can choose to let it define me, confine me, refine me, outshine me, or I can choose to move on and leave it behind me. Always, Kristen Brock. Considering that gave me so much closure, I want to remember them for who they were and not what happened to them, and be happy for the time we got to spend together and not sad about the time that we don't. I may always and will always be her sunshine, but she will always be my star from up above. And I know at nighttime I can go and look at Mama and Jamie in the sky, and gladly they will save me a seat in heaven like they saved for you. I'm sorry. Gladly they will save a seat for me in heaven like they saved a seat for me in this very church. Although there's nothing we can do to bring them back, we still have control over how we treat people with us today. Therefore, when someone tries to tell you anything, no matter how important it could be, just listen, because you never know when it's somebody's time to go. You could say goodnight and wake up a few hours just to find out they aren't there, despite their joy and their love. So just listen, and never take a hug or anyone or anything for granted, and love with all they have in you like they did. And lastly, my take on not taking people for granted Jaden, JoJo, Trent, Tristan, Ashley, and Jesse for helping me get through my worst nightmare. And last but not least, I want to thank Tasha, Bree, Nate, Lane, Kimberly Hayes, Kim Bowling, Katie, and most of all, my father, Angie, and Ben for making such a big difference. Jamie and Mama would have thanked y'all too. I love you guys, and so do I. And so do they. I'm sorry. No.
She would also start posting about her story on TikTok, and this is the main little montage that has been going around. It reads, "They don't know it, but a year from now, me and my 5-year-old sister would find them wrongfully shot dead in our home and won't get to watch me graduate high school, see me walk down the aisle, and couldn't even say goodbye." Then she would post these to Jelly Roll's Hallelujah song as a tribute to her parents. I guess her mother really loved Jelly Roll, but you get the idea, just really sad, attention-grabbing TikToks as she was processing the situation that she was in. I'm going to show you and read you one more of those, but before I do, if you haven't heard anything about this case or haven't caught this vibe yet from what we've gone over so far, because everyone grieves differently and we know that, but at this point, the investigators were zeroing in on Sarah as their prime suspect. So let's look at this TikTok she posted with that in mind. "It hits me when I can't stop shaking to the point where my body is in pain because of the soreness of constantly doing it. It hits when the thought of eating food is disgusting to me. It hits me when my hair comes out in clumps because of the anxiety having to build a new life without them in a different house and town. It hits when I feel like someone on my chest with acorns inside of it from the panic attacks when I get overwhelmed with the hurt and madness and confusion. It hits when my whole body aches so bad I don't want to get out of bed or even have the energy to brush my hair. It hits me when I can't see my sister and brother. It hits me when I see how none of my family can recover and we are all left hurt and confused with no answers. It hits me that I have a constant pounding headache in multiple areas of my head that cause me to push my loved ones away and to be annoyed by everything. It hits me when I want to stay in bed and cry all day and I don't feel like continuing. I got help." Then she closes with, "It may not have fully hit me yet, but what has fully hit me is they should be here. And the thought of a hug from them tears me to pieces because I know I can't hug them no matter how bad I want to and need to. And most of all, it hits me that I need my mom more than ever right now. And I know that I cannot get closure because nothing will bring them back. If you know something, please speak up and help me and my family heal." When you look at them thinking that she could be the one responsible, it hits completely differently, doesn't it? Like I said, this is still unfolding and everyone grieves differently, but why these are considered basically as digital evidence and her TikTok was wiped after her arrest is just how much it is about her. Could she just be a little on the narcissistic side and grieving her parents? Absolutely. But there's more. By June, she would start reaching out to TikTok true crime creators and ask them to cover her story to raise awareness about it. One TikTok creator who goes by allegedly reportedly, love that name, had this to say.
"Would you ask me to cover a case where you are going to get arrested for taking your parents' lives?" Y'all, this is Sarah Grace, and she messaged me back on June 3rd and just said, "Search up Brock case." So I said, "Brock Turner? Brock who?" She said, "Kristen and James Brock. Hold on. They're my parents." And out of nowhere, a random Thursday night in February, someone came in my house with me and my 5-year-old sister, and my parents left them for me and my little sister to wake up to. Technically, it was a Wednesday night because I found them Thursday morning. And I said, not knowing she was going to wind up arrested for this, "I am so sorry. I cannot imagine. I will absolutely research and cover their case. Please take care of you always."
So yeah, she turned herself in sort of, like, She had an arrest warrant issued 2 hours following an interview she went in for with her father that he ended up cutting short. And her father brought her into the station so they didn't have to come pick her up and cuff her. She didn't turn herself in as in, I'm guilty, this is what happened. She is still maintaining her innocence. She just complied with her arrest warrant. This would happen on July 8th, so literally just 3 weeks ago, and she is being charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of agitated assault. The police claim to have a mountain of evidence that has not been released yet. Sarah's father claims that it looks more like a small folder and believes with all his heart that his daughter is innocent. Beyond what we already kind of mentioned from him, he would state that there were no major problems in the house as well, none that would lead to something like this. He would say that punishments were different between households, but nothing unusual for kids that go back and forth between their parents. He would also say that he has pictures that show signs of a forced entry. We have not seen these yet, and the news is still reporting that there are no signs of a forced entry. This one, it's tricky because there's a lot that we still will learn as it unfolds. We will either have to do a part 2 or pin relevant information in the comments section as it progresses. The majority of Sarah's family is standing by her as well, and here is what her grandfather, Kristen's father, had to say about it.
Joining us now is Sarah Patrick's grandfather and Kristen Brock's dad, Dennis Nolan. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. I can't imagine what you and your family are going through. First question, what was your reaction to Sarah's arrest this week?
Well, I'm very surprised. I mean, I've been talking to the detectives since it happened, had no indication that they were looking at Sarah as a suspect, no less any evidence that said she did it. So I was shocked.
Do you believe she's the one who did this?
No, I think to sum it up, really, the detectives, the best they could tell me was the evidence says that she's the only one who could possibly have done it. That says to me that there's no real evidence that says she did do it.
I know this is kind of a difficult question, but law enforcement said that they found it suspicious that Sarah would not have heard gunshots in that home. And that was something that in the beginning started, I guess, it was a red flag for them. And that a 5-year-old would go in and potentially hear gunshots. And I know James had a heart machine, but then Sarah would not. And that they found suspicious. What do you say to that?
Well, I don't know. The house was very unusual, and her bedroom wasn't next to theirs, but Sarah claimed that the TVs were on. I know they were on in both rooms, and I don't know. It did seem unusual to me that she didn't hear the gunshots, but at 1:30 in the morning, she was asleep. I know I'm such a solid sleeper. That it possibly could have happened to me and not heard it.
What was her relationship with James and Kristen?
It was good. It was very good. She was here Thanksgiving with them, and we had a good time. Everybody was happy, and it was good conversation. There was no trouble, and my conversations with Kristen, right up to that night, she never mentioned anything about problems with Sarah, which she would have done. Kristen and I were very close. She was the daddy's girl.
Did Sarah know how to fire a gun?
I'm sure she did. Yeah.
And this is Georgia. I mean, many people grow up handling firearms. Did she grow up around guns? Were there guns in the house?
There were times they were here. I live out in the county, and we've taken, some of my guns and fired them off my deck and so forth. And I believe Sarah partook in some of that at times. Her brothers were more interested in it. Um, but yeah, no, I wouldn't say she grew up with guns. No.
At the funeral, and the spokesperson for the Carroll County Sheriff said that this was something that stood out to her, that in Sarah's speech at the funeral, she said sorry at the end of her speech. And I guess investigators, that was another red flag for them. What do you make of that being a red flag to the people now accusing her of murder?
I'm sorry. She wrote that speech, and I can't speak for her for that. It didn't even occur. That never occurred to me. I'm sure she was sorry it all happened. I am sorry it happened. Using the word sorry, I don't think is any admission of guilt. I think that's a little exaggerated.
He touches on that I'm sorry at the end of the eulogy. And this is what her dad has to say about that.
You can sneeze on my daughter and she'll tell you, I'm sorry. She says I'm sorry to everything. It's not just to the eulogy, Really, I mean, you can step on her toe and she'll tell you she's sorry she was in the way. That's just the type of girl she is.
I mean, I'm an I'm sorry person too, so it really could be that, or it could be more sinister. And this is what one of her friends, Kelly Brown, would have to say about her.
Here's a few things about Sarah that would shock you for her to even do this, and this is why we didn't suspect anything about it. Going to school with her and being her friend, she was super sweet. She always wanted to be friends with people. As someone else said, when they were telling us about them being friends, she would always give notes to people that were crying. She'd always come up to you. She'd always give you food. She just wanted to be liked. And that's why it was so surprising to us that she would even do this.
So she said she's innocent, and some of the people closest to her do believe her. So we're going to have to see what that mountain of evidence is when it comes out. I imagine it must be compelling because things are still moving forward and there could possibly be more arrests in the future, they said, indicating that Sarah may not have been working alone, but time will tell. If she is responsible for this crime, that's why I kind of got sucked into this one. I was already sucked in, but I picked it for pride because if she did do that and then was asking people to cover it and spread awareness, that's audacity. Look at how freaking innocent she looks too. It's crazy, but we all know that does not mean anything. If she did kill them, the question then becomes why? Was she being physically or sexually mistreated at any point? And if there was a reason like that, why not just come out with that? Was it really just so that she could play the victim? It's reported that she didn't suffer from any mental health issues, but that one TikTok that we were reading captioned unmedicated depression and anxiety at its finest. So she, at the very least, wanted people to think that she had these illnesses or she was diagnosed by herself or a professional, but I'm not sure if she has any recorded diagnoses. I did hear, but couldn't confirm as well, that she had been in mental health facilities in the past. And as things unfold, I suppose we will find out if that has happened or not. But if she did do it, there definitely is something wrong up there. On the other side of the coin, she had just graduated from high school and her stepfather was waiting for a transplant with very poor survival odds. So just why? Other than attention, we don't have another reason why unless she tells us. So what do you guys think about this one? It's pretty wild no matter which way it goes now, and I hope that no matter what, that justice is found for Kristen and James. There were Amazon wish lists for the 5-year-old and James's surviving son. The one for the little girl has already been completely fulfilled, so I'll go ahead and leave the link for the son in the description so that you can help out with that if you are so inclined. Last year, we covered a genius who thought that he could commit the perfect murder, and I will leave that one for you in the end card if you're interested. We've got gluttony, greed, and envy left, guys, and I don't know which one I'm going to tackle next week, but until then, please stay safe out there. Bye!